Hi everyone and welcome back. It's obviously that time of the week, the Monday or in this case Tuesday, for the Bundesliga and A-League review. Might be slightly shorter, this week because just like many times already this season, the A-League's fixturing has been an absolute shit tip. So we've got a full schedule of Bundesliga fixtures to go through. Only about 4 A-League games if I remember correctly right then. I mean, your team didn't play, so at least you didn't have to sit through one of those games again.
Well, that's right. Only the 4, and we've got our Asian Champions League second leg game in Thailand on tonight. So I'm very much looking forward to that to see if we progress. But hey, 4 games in the A-League sometimes is 2 or 3 too many. So I reckon, especially with the craziness of the table and the fixturing and whatnot, but. Really good weekend of action in the I almost said A-League again, in the Bundesliga, for different reasons. So some really good results, and the top of the table is looking really good, but also the bottom end is really starting to condense and tighten as well.
I mean, look, in all fairness, with the result of last week, I think anything happening in the title race now is basically not really that big a deal anymore. It would be truly remarkable if we were to somehow throw away an 11-point lead in the last 9 games of this season. So, especially given our end to the season as well, where we play basically the entire bottom 4 as it currently stands in our last 4 games, or close to the bottom 4. Basically, so look, we'll touch on our game and Dortmund's game later. We'll start at the bottom of the table this time, where Bremen yesterday pulled off a massive result for their season. 4-1 win against Union Berlin, and boy did they need that, Bremen, right? They really did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they seriously needed that result. It's a massive win for them to give them some confidence. Obviously, they fell behind. Kern's penalty early on for Union made it look like it was possibly going to be another one of those days for Bremen, but then luck was on their side. Schaefer sent off a minute later, and Bremen took full control and got themselves a massive deserved win as the result of that. And they'll take it any way they can, regardless of the red card, won't they?
Absolutely, and I didn't actually see the result of this one until the following morning, because I obviously went to bed after watching the game.
You were quite happy about your result, and then I had to let you know that Bremen beat Union 4-1. You're like, oh.
Got up yesterday and checked out the table. I'm like, oh yeah, great. So not many other teams got points. That's good. And then you obviously broke the news to me that they won pretty convincingly. But look, I'm not really surprised, and it comes back to the whole thing we've been saying since we started this podcast about different teams sort of getting that little sugar hit and starting from one win and then building in the following weeks. And this is another example of that.
Well, if they can continue it on. I mean, look, it's a win that they've been desperate for weeks now, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Goals as well, something that's really been an issue for them of late as well. Yeah, and I know the caveat is this came against 10 men, but doesn't really matter for them. They'll take it anywhere it comes.
Exactly.
And to get 4 of them as well, just to open that goal difference up a bit as well, which we all know how important goal difference can be in a relegation scrap.
Oh, definitely. Especially with teams that get being scored heavily against.
I think it's another result for Union that's making me think that they're not impressing like I thought they would after how we began this podcast when we began it and how impressed we were with them. This year's been very average for them at best, in my honest opinion.
They did go out and buy new players as well in January. And they're sort of
I think they're kind of in a position where they're just kind of slumping towards a lower mid-table finish come the end of the season. Yeah. I mean, I'll check the table, but I don't think they're in any inherent danger of relegation. But
I've actually got it up here.
I don't know. To be fair, Bremen are now Bremen are now only 3 points behind them. There are and Hamburg are above them, of course. So. They are getting pulled, but they are getting pulled into that battle, you could say, depending on how their results go over the next couple of weeks. So I wouldn't say they're clear of it yet.
And two of the sides that are directly around that mark play each other on Friday night, Saturday morning. So depending on if one of those teams, and it's Gladbach I'm talking about, get a positive result and a good result, they could fall even further, and then they're in all sorts. So, but I think for Bremen, like I said, they got that first win at home, which they've been crying out for, and they've backed it up with another. I don't know if they've scored 4 all season. So
possibly not. Yeah, as far as I'm aware.
It's a really good result, and obviously just means that they're sort of in that conversation of survival along with the others as well.
I think they might have against Hamburg in the Nord Derby earlier this season. I think it might have been 4-3 to Bremen, I think, if I'm correct, but I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, look, it's been few and far between, and they need more of these wins, but it's a massive one to boost their survival chances ultimately. Speaking of a team who, initially benefited from the point they gained until Bremen won that game, obviously your boys, St. Pauli, pushed back towards the relegation zone. And to be honest, it's a great point against a slightly informed Frankfurt. But when you look at the way the game went, I think you probably should have won that game.
Yeah,
I think that's the most free-flowing attacking football I've seen you guys play in a long, long time. Because even your recent wins against Bremen, against Hoffenheim, against Stuttgart, they've been very backs-to-the-wall games for you and just snatching goals where you can. This game, actually, you look the better team. You created the better chances, possibly more chances, and the finishing just wasn't really there. I mean, look, you'll take the point and you'll definitely take the clean sheet, I'm sure, but given the results around you, or in specific Bremen's result, it could have been better, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could have been, and look, as you said, I'm pretty pleased with the point, regardless of the result that came straight after. Because I mean, we've still got 9 games to play, and as I mentioned to you yesterday, after we play you guys in a few weeks, we've got a really good run home in the last 5 or 6 games of the year.
Yeah.
Against similar sides around us, Mainz, Köln.
I mean, obviously that Wolfsburg game, last game of the season at home, that could be big. That one, you never know, right?
That could be massive, but. And starting with a big 6-pointer against Gladbach on Saturday morning, as I alluded to before, which is huge. So, but I think you're right about the style of play. It does feel like, especially in this game, it was a lot more open, and it wasn't just let's try and go forward and see what happens. We're actually creating chances. Daniel Sanani, was up front as opposed to Kars again, and he hit the post. He hit the base of the post in the first half and was unlucky not to take a deflection and go in, really. So you're right. I mean, we did create some really good sort of chances and turned half chances into better ones. But I think this is a really good example of something I mentioned weeks ago when we were struggling, and when we started to hit really good form, turning those losses previously into draws, and that was one of those games in this one. I sort of feel that even though we didn't score, we stopped them from scoring, and we know that they've been able to beat better sides and they've been able to play good football this year. But as you said, they're in a bit of a slump where they're just not getting results, and we were lucky at home and getting points at home as well. Any way we can get them between now and the end of the year is going to be really important, I think. So Blessing's got the guys behind him. He's got the backing of his boys.
He's got the blessing of his boys.
the blessing of his boys, yeah. And I just think that's hopefully going to translate into more points, especially as we just talked about with the table where it's really tight now, and you've got teams that are sort of slipping, but you've got others that are coming up.
Literally 5 points separate you and Hamburg, who are currently in 10th. That's a perfect segue, because their win has very much helped you. You're 16th for the moment, of course. You're currently in that playoff spot behind Mainz on goal difference. You're 4 points clear of Wolfsburg now after Hamburg turned it round against them. Of course, Wolfsburg taking the lead through an Eriksson penalty. But their recent form just reared its ugly head again. A red card, a 1-0 lead turned into a 2-1 defeat, courtesy of 2 more penalties from Dompe and from Vuskovic, and then Dompe for 3 penalties deciding a game, right?
Yeah, ridiculous.
But that's how it happened. A big win for Hamburg. Wolfsburg are looking desperate right now, aren't they? They really are. Like when I was watching the highlights of that and I saw they'd gone in front, and it felt like, maybe they're finally going to click. But then the red card happens, then they concede the penalty, and then the next penalty, and then all of a sudden, it looks like another same old story for Wolfsburg. The players look down on confidence. They don't think it doesn't look like they've got the belief to turn things around at the moment. Your point at least now opens up a gap of more than a game between you and Wolfsburg now, which could be hugely important if it comes down to the final day. Even if it came down like that to the final day, even a win for Wolfsburg wouldn't do anything, of course, given the fact that you're that point further ahead. So that's huge for you, and Mainz and the other teams ahead of you. But for Wolfsburg, I mean, look, they're starting to hit when you're a team in a relegation battle, or even a team chasing anything, and you slip, more than a game behind the team directly in front of you, that's when you can start to panic, because that's when you need to get more than one game needs to go your way, and then all of a sudden that's when the panic can start to set in.
Exactly, and like you were saying, if hypothetically if the positions don't change, we don't play them, or sorry, they don't play us until the last day, and it could already be done by then, like you said. So it's really up to both sides, or especially Wolfsburg, because we're obviously talking about them, to really sort of, I guess, start to pick up points and hope for other results to go their way. But the Ericsson penalty was absolutely there. I mean, basically got kicked in the head. Let's face it. So and good on him for taking. But the funny thing is, I'd gone to bed, sort of not long after this game had started. I was actually keeping tabs on the game on my phone. I saw they took the lead. I'm like, oh shit, that's not good for us.
Yeah.
And then saw Hamburg leveled. I'm like, oh, get in, fantastic, and then obviously kept on.
I mean, it's hard. Like you're looking at it, it's like when you're going, oh, that's fantastic, and you're like, but I don't want Hamburg to win. It's like, I think maybe with this season,
I'll give him a free pass this week.
I was going to say maybe this season. I think because it's been such a long time since you got. Well, actually, not that long since you played each other. It's only 2 seasons ago, in fact. But like in the Bundesliga, it's been such a long time since you shared the league, and maybe there's more of a not respect, but less hatred. But I think the longer you two stay in the Bundesliga together, I think the hatred will start to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I was just going to say that I think for both sides it's really important, because they've had some great rivalries over the years, and I think another season in the Bundesliga for both of them will be fantastic for the league overall.
You want them to stay up this season, but next season you're probably then back in the boat of, or you want them back down.
They can go back. They can go back into the relegation playoff. I think so. I think for them it was a really important win, and for Wolfsburg they'll be really disappointed not to go on with that lead. Yeah.
Speaking of another big game this weekend, Freiburg and Leverkusen played out an absolute thriller of a game, didn't they? 3-3. I mean, look, it's not great for Leverkusen, who've dropped points yet again in their race for the top 4, which is fading every single week right now. Even though it's still only 3 points between them and Stuttgart, it doesn't feel like they're any closer, especially they've got us next week, of course, as well. They're just dropping points a little too... sorry, they haven't won 2 weeks in a row. Sorry, 2 times in 3 weeks, my bad. But it just feels like the inconsistency is really hurting Leverkusen at this point in time. That's what it really feels like. Look, Freiburg are no mugs. They're close enough. They're 10 points behind them, but they are 2 positions behind them. They're no mugs themselves. But I just feel that, excuse me, people, I have a problem with yawning. It's age, isn't it? I just feel that, with Leverkusen's sake, they can't get the consistency right now. It's really apparent. That 1 week they'll win, look relatively comfortable, but then the next they'll struggle and they'll draw, and it's just this kind of repeating cycle, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely, and you're right about Leverkusen, dropping points and not being in the best of form, sort of in that last sort of few weeks or so. But great result for Freiburg. Good to see Grifo, back on the score sheet again. Ginter with a late goal as well to square it. But I mean, looking at the table, probably I guess when you look at 6th versus 8th, probably the result you'd expect between those two sort of sides, I guess, sort of in a similar bracket.
One thing I will say about this game is it produced one of the funniest free kicks I think I've ever seen. I'm talking about Grimaldo's goal here, obviously, if you remember it. He's lining up to take a free kick, and then Freiburg are basically deciding whether or not they're putting a man on the line or not. And the player goes on the line. You must have seen this, right? A player goes on the line. He stands on the line. I think it was Suzuki. I think Suzuki was on the line. And then there was this indecision. So before the free kick was taken, he steps off and moves off the line back in towards just behind the wall. And then just before Grimaldo's taking the free kick, he's decided to go back to the line. And the funniest part about it is Grimaldo puts the free kick over the wall and over Suzuki's head when he's just standing off the line anyway. So it's one of the most ridiculous free kick things I've seen. I don't know what went on there with Freiburg, But the fact that they still conceded after all those shenanigans and in the position where they were trying to prevent conceding just makes it hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm
fucking hilarious.
I'm actually looking at it now again. Yeah.
You can see it. Like I think it's Suzuki. Suzuki's like on the line, then he's off, and then he goes back on the line.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
No, he's on the line. It's the fact that because I've seen people like it's a tactic. They put players on the line, obviously, to stop someone trying to go top corner where the keeper isn't on that side.
Yeah.
We'll speak more about gaps. We'll speak more about big gaps between keeper and far post or near post on free kicks later in this episode with a goal that was scored in the A-League. Like, it's just hilarious how he's on the line, as you saw, and then he comes off the line, joins the ball, and then goes back to the line, and then still can't. And then Grimaldo puts it in that exact spot anyway. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
It looks a bit comical.
Yeah, now that I've just seen it in full again, that's ridiculous. He's sort of feet are dancing. He's not quite sure where he should be going, and it's like something out of FIFA 26 or whatever it's called now.
And that was on point of the game, and that I thought that would be a turning point where Leverkusen would go on to win. Obviously, they were 2-1 up. Suzuki had just scored prior to that, and that was right on half time. And then Terrier scores shortly after the break. But it just doesn't happen. Once again, Leverkusen just cannot hold on to a lead. They cannot, as I said, the inconsistencies are there right now, and it's hurting their chances of getting the top 4, even though it's just 3 points in it. And if they can win a couple of games in a row, then they're right back in it. But they've got to figure out how to do that and fast, because they are now running out of games. There's only 9 that they've only got 9 to play, and it's not going to get any easier against us next week for them. So,
is it before we move on to the next game? Do you reckon it's fair to say that Leverkusen wouldn't be great walking through a dog park at the moment? They can't hold on to a lead.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, so...
Yeah. Fair point, yeah. We'll move on to another 6-goal thriller this week, which I was a bit surprised at. I thought Hoffenheim were going to absolutely run clear with this game, but, practically all but relegated Heidenheim still hanging in there. Even though at one point, Hoffenheim were 3-0 up and looking absolutely comfortable as beyond belief, as Heidenheim were terrible. And got all money gone, and then they pull one back, and then they get one more, and then that gets called off, of course, for an offside, I believe, and then Lempele scores at 4-1, and then they pull it back again to 4-2 late on, and it looks a bit tasty late on, even though Hoffenheim themselves, who were desperate for a win to get their season back on track after a poor run of an inconsistent run themselves of late. I said last week it was the perfect team for them to play, a team in Heidenheim who, for all money and intents purposes, look like they're practically down now, and still do after this game as well. Hoffenheim were absolutely comfortable at 3-0 up at that point, weren't they?
Yeah, they looked it, and it just, looking at the highlights, it just obviously looks like they've sort of got their sort of free-flowing attack back, and they've sort of lost that in recent weeks, but. Yeah. And I think for Heidenheim, look, we've already talked about it. They're as good as gone, albeit with still games to play, unfortunately. But for them being able to score, albeit sort of second half goals, but still.
Look, we've seen them earlier this season win back-to-back games, and that's where Wolfsburg in their current form, Heidenheim do that again. They're back level on points with Wolfsburg if they can do that. I just don't think it is going to happen because they don't look like that and they can do that anymore. It looks like they've resigned themselves to the fact that they've gone down. And we said last week with the manager coming out before last week's game saying they were already down or whatever, basically it doesn't help, obviously. No. But look, they gave a good go at it. Obviously, maybe it could have been completely different at that second goal. That goal that ended up standing, obviously didn't. But, fair credit to Hoffenheim. It's a much-needed win again from them. A win that kind of gets them back onto form potentially as well, where they need it. They've got Wolfsburg next week, so it's yet another easy game for them with Wolfsburg current form. So it's a great chance for Hoffenheim to pull themselves right back into that, comfortably into that top 4. They're still there at the moment because Stuttgart themselves have been inconsistent largely of late. But for Hoffenheim's sake, the more, just keep winning and they're going to comfortably get into that top 4. Look, I think second is beyond them. I'm pretty sure, my suggestion now is that Dortmund have Dortmund have basically all but secured themselves second place, because other than us, they just look way more consistent than a lot of the teams. I know they've only won one more game than Hoffenheim, but Hoffenheim's inconsistency have happened recently. So yeah, I don't know. Speaking of Dortmund, of course, they got themselves back into winning ways after the defeat to us last week. Again, aided by a red card from Köln, but they were 2-0 up. They were already 1-0 up at that point, and stretched their lead through Maxi Bayer to 2-0. And had it not been for Kaminski's late consolation, it could have been a nice, comfortable 2-0 for Dortmund, even though it was still comfortable ultimately for them. Guirassy getting himself back on the score sheet, and Maxi Bayer just once again doing what Maxi Bayer does, a very talented young German forward who I think should be in the World Cup squad for Germany. Another one of those players who they need to look at, in my opinion. Maybe not to start, but a good option nonetheless to have in the squad.
Yeah, I think possibly unlucky for Köln, but they did get that red sort of first half stoppage time at the start of the second. But Guirassy on the score sheet again, and he's been on the score sheet most weeks this season, so it's sort of probably easier for us to say when he hasn't scored this year. And same with Maxi Bayer as well. But I mean, consolation goal for the hosts, really.
I mean, look, the point of this is, obviously we know Dortmund are probably going to finish second, right? It's kind of obvious at this point, unless they have some remarkable collapse at the end of the season. But yeah, the alarm bells are ringing for Köln now, in my opinion. They're now level on points with you guys. That's how far they've fallen in recent weeks. A team that, we've said before, for the large part, first couple of months of this podcast, we were saying they're going to be down for a comfortable mid-table finish. I'm not ruling out them slipping into a relegation battle now. I mean, they are practically in one now. Yeah. They've lost their home form. Said Almala's impact is lessening week by week.
Aka didn't score another bicycle kick.
So I mean, look, on form of the last 5 games, they're tied for the worst form in the league with Heidenheim and Wolfsburg. Each of them have drawn 1 and lost 4 of their last 5. So it's really not looking good for Köln right now, who are slipping into a relegation battle every week.
And I think it's probably a good segue to talk about one of the other results, because there's another team who we actually talked about, I reckon exactly the same breath, who are actually in the exact same situation. So that's what do you reckon? That's a pretty good segue to...
I assume you're talking about Mainz, who did get themselves...
most certainly am,
Who did get themselves a handy point courtesy of a late goal from Da Costa. It could have been worse, because even at 1-0 up, Stuttgart scored twice in a minute and, were in front, and they had to be rescued in the end, Mainz. But yeah, they are another team who are now starting to slip back after what was looking to be a promising start for life for the club under Urs Fischer. But it's starting to hit them again, because that's 3 consecutive draws and a defeat before that, so it's winless in 4 now. They're starting to slip back into it as well. It's happened to a lot of teams this season. We've seen it happen to another team we'll mention shortly. Bremen are getting themselves out of it, of course, but Köln are slipping back, Mainz are slipping back, Wolfsburg have been slipping back half of this, like most of this season. It's all getting really congested there. You've got Gladbach and Bremen on 25, you've got Köln, Mainz and St. Pauli on 24. So, Wolfsburg are obviously 4 points behind that group. But, excuse me.
This was another one of those games I also kept an eye on for obvious reasons. Sunday, like late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, just because of the ramifications. And was surprised to see that Mainz took the lead, but it was a pretty lucky header. Lee, close range but off the crossbar. So, but look. Dennis Undav, same with Guirassy. It's easier for us to say when he doesn't score.
His finishing is remarkable. He goes through one-on-one. You look at him go through one-on-one, you go like, he's scoring. You just know he is. And that's when I was watching the highlights back and I saw him go through one-on-one, I was like, there's no way he's missing this. This is definitely a goal. And it was. And another very confident finish from a player who I mentioned in last week's tea-break episode. I think it was that Germany should be looking at him to lead the line in that World Cup, if I'm to be honest. So and then Demirovic as well, who's always been hanging around there. Having him back and fully fit is a big plus for Stuttgart. But overall, the consistency is still biting them a little bit, though, I will say. Because, you know, the late equaliser from Mainz, you'd think Stuttgart would have wanted to hold on. Would have wanted to hold on there for all 3 points, and they couldn't. Yeah. So
and let's just quickly talk about that. That's ridiculous. I mean, off the crossbar and just basically straight onto De Costa's head. Like, how lucky can you get?
But I mean, look,
in stoppage time. Yeah.
Could that luck be all they need? Like, could that be an important goal in their season? Because they don't win that game, they're in 16th. It does, and you know. You as a St. Pauli fan would know that goals have been always going to be your issue this and last season. So if it's going to come down to goal difference, you're always going to be looking on the wrong side of it rather than the right side. So it keeps them above you on goal difference, and the gap is 5 in goal difference between you and them. So you know, and it's not really something you could see your team overturning, a gap of 5 in goal difference realistically, right? So
no, that's right. But looking at Gladbach and Bremen, they're on. They've got a 1 and 2 goal gap respectively. Yeah. Those two. So I guess the way I look at it is the best option is just to get points really, because like you said, in terms of a side like Mainz, their goal difference is obviously relying on teams like you guys and those other top sides. I'm not sure how many more left that they've got. Really putting them to the sword, and that's not always going to happen. So, but I think a really really handy point for them, and we don't know. How the rest of the season's going to play out for them. Is it going to give them a boost, or will they sort of keep falling? We don't know.
So we'll move on to one of the other 2 games, almost nothing games. We'll start with my lot. A comfortable 4-1 win against a Gladbach side who are still struggling to keep themselves out of that relegation conversation, because it's very close, of course. A rotated Bayern side, Harry Kane injured, hopefully that's not out for too long. Nicholas Jackson started, and on a rare occasion this season, looked like he was actually having a decent game and scored as well, of course. Luis Diaz opening the scoring for us, of course. Like, Goretzka, what a ball, by the way. Like, just a little dink through the defence, and Luis Diaz keeps his calm, scores his 14th league goal of the season. Lima, a brilliant finish after a brilliant pass and move from Bayern. And then the story of the night for Bayern, Jamal Musiala grabbing his first goal back from injury in the league. What a massive moment that was for him. A penalty, of course, but another good performance from him, slowly getting himself back to full match fitness, and it's going to be so important because we're not just looking at the league, obviously, now that's practically all but sewn up. We want the Champions League, we want the DFB Pokal, we want the treble, and having these players fit gives us every chance of getting that. A late consolation for Monchengladbach, which does deserve a mention, of course. Moya, who becomes the first 17-year-old, I believe it was, to score for Mönchengladbach. So there's a stat for you, right? Obviously, Rocco Wright's getting sent off didn't help them. That's the second time they've had a player sent off against us this season after Kastrop was sent off against us earlier this season.
Misses the next game, which is pretty important, obviously.
I mean, look, that's massive for you because Rocco Wright's has been one of their best players this season, in my opinion. He's very consistent for them. So not having him might be huge for you guys in terms of giving you a chance to getting a massive win there. But look, another comfortable win for us. That's 92 goals now in the league this season. The record is 101. We've got 9 games to score 10 goals. To break that record, I mean, it's something you'd definitely expect us to do, right? So
I'd say so. It's but the first goal from Diaz I thought was absolutely brilliant. Really nice little dink, and as you said, and just bang,
even Lima's finish, I'm going to say the pass and move leading up to Lima's goal, and the finish from Konrad Lima was excellent as well. Yeah, and then Jackson's was basically a tap in on the line, but still. Hopefully Harry Kane's injury isn't too long, because we definitely need him in the closing stage of this season. But look, great, another comfortable performance. Excuse me, I'm so tired. How many times I had a drinking game with people who watch our podcast, basically, and saying like every time Chester yawns in a video, like take a shot. Sorry, but I might contribute to alcohol poisoning if anyone tries that.
Drink responsibly, folks.
But look, comfortable win for Bayern, a poor result for Gladbach, and they've got a big game coming up. and not having Rocco rights could seriously hurt them, of course. So yeah, look, Bayern move on. Another mention as well, just quickly for Bayern, as we threw young players on towards the end. Just got to remember his name now. I mean, look, I will also say Tom Bischoff getting another start, another good performance from him. So really, really impressed with him. Okay, that's funny. I was looking for the name of the player we brought on, the young player we brought on, but he's not actually on the substitutes bench on what I'm looking at here, which is pretty funny. Oh God, what was his name? I cannot believe I forgot his name. Give me 2 seconds, people.
Is it Leonard Carl?
No, it's not Leonard Carl. Carl did start. Carl started, and he was all right. He hasn't been as good recently as what he was earlier this season. Has been earlier this season, I should say. He started with Musiala though, so it kind of shows that we've found we could be finding a way to actually play them both together, which could be huge. Because by playing Musiala more centrally and then Carl, yeah.
I was going to say maybe you need to put him out on loan next season to a particular side that might be staying in the league next season. Perhaps who might require.
No offense to the way you guys play, but Leonard Carl needs to play at a team that actually attacks freely.
Well, we don't know that yet for next year, do we?
No, true.
But yeah, look, good result for you guys.
Here we go. Yeah, sorry. Here we go. Maicon Cardozo, that's his name.
Right.
Yeah, new young player. Looked all right when he came on. Didn't have an awful lot because the game was basically all but done at that point. But look, you know, more young players out the Bayern Academy coming off the ranks, as we've been so good at doing over the years. So yeah, look, good to see that. But yeah, we'll move on to the last game of the round, which didn't have an awful lot riding on it. One team's looking, like they're going to be in a battle for top 4 all season. The other looks like they're now heading towards a comfortable mid-table finish. That's Leipzig beating Augsburg 2-1. I believe coming from behind, if I'm correct as well. Yes,
you are
coming
correct.
from behind.
Yes.
Look, bad news for Augsburg. They probably should have held on for the point, but then that late own goal from Chavez denying them the point. Diamande again, I mean, he's excellent, isn't he? He's just such a good player. United have been linked with him, and I wouldn't mind going in for him because it'd be a good option, especially when we need to hopefully beef out our squad for Champions League next season as well. So yeah,
I could see him in the Premier League somewhere. Absolutely.
Yeah. So look, good comeback for Leipzig. Augsburg, falling back a bit after some recent good form, but I think their form has shown that they're on the up and heading towards a comfortable mid-table finish because the gap is really starting to open up. I mean, they're pulling themselves towards Frankfurt now. They're only 4 points off them. So, yeah, and look, as for Leipzig, they've pulled themselves back into that top 4 contention. They're only behind Stuttgart on goal difference now, 2 points behind Hoffenheim as well. Could Leipzig be a contender for 3rd place now at this point? Because we know they can win games. Yeah, they've unbeaten in their last 5 as well, so yeah. Yeah,
and look, we've talked about Diamande, one of the best young players in the competition. Missed penalty from Schlotterbeck didn't help.
I'm a bit surprised why. I'm a bit surprised he took it, in all honesty. But given it after that handball, of course, from Baumgartner. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised Schlotterbeck decided to take it because it was a pretty average penalty as well, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It wasn't particularly amazing, the penalty.
Yeah, but a really, really good ball for Feldhauer to score. Just a really nice attacking run.
Yeah.
And Leipzig have proven they're not easy to score against this season. Especially for sides sort of like Augsburg, they're in that bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, Augsburg probably unlucky not to take a point out of this one, but the own goal late from Chavez was the difference ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. So that will wrap up the Bundesliga portion of today's episode, people. Apologies, it wasn't as full on as last week, but the games were a little less, with the exception of that Bremen game in terms of big results, but we'll move on to the A-League. But before we do, remember, as always, if you've made it this far, people, don't forget to give us a like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. Helps out a lot. we'll move on to the A-League, which saw a grand total of 4 games take place over the weekend. So keep going with your fixturing, A-League. You're absolutely remarkably brilliant. Like, there was a MacArthur Mariners game I will touch on, which supposedly last Wednesday, which counts as this round, but it's so far back I can't. Look, Mariners won 3-1. They're in good form. MacArthur continue to be inconsistent. Let's just move on to the actual games over the weekend. We'll start with that Friday night game between Adelaide and Wellington. It was another absolute just non-event of a game, really, in the A-League. It's almost like a result you could have predicted. Adelaide, Wellington, 1-1. Like, it really is, isn't it? Look, Wellington still, keeping themselves just off the foot of the table. Nothing inspiring by the result. It was a good header from Corbin Piper, but Adelaide are just difficult to beat at home, aren't they? That's the thing. Even though they don't win. Sorry, it wasn't Piper. My bad. It was Mandrake James. Sorry, excuse me. Is what it says here. I'm certain it was Corbin Piper who scored. So I don't know why it's telling me Mandrake James scored. Unless I'm wrong, but I'm certain it was Corbin Piper. But anyway, Luka Jovanovic equalising for Adelaide, and really not awful lot else really happened in the game, did it?
Not really. Just pretty tame. 1-1 draw. So good crowd, nearly 10,000 at Coopers, which you'd expect. They want to make that ground a bit of a fortress, but not a whole lot to really say about this game. And like we said, it was only 4 games, so. Might be a fairly quick review actually once we get to the last game, but just pretty stock standard 1-1 draw on a Friday night. But
I mean, if you want to see how ridiculous the A-League is now, I'm sorry, I just go to if I'm on Bing, I'm looking at the standings right now. I don't think I've ever seen this. So, in the current top 6 of the A-League, if we're going off games in the last 5 games, only Sydney and Adelaide have lost a game in the last 5. And that's just 1. And in the bottom 6, so 7th down to 12th, only 1 team has won a game in the last 5, and that was Wanderers last week against MacArthur.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. MacArthur have lost 3, drawn 2 of the last 5. Brisbane lost 3, drawn 2 of the last 5. You guys the same. Perth drawn 3, lost 2. Wellington lost 3, drawn 2. Wanderers drawn 2, lost 2, 1-1. Like, I've never seen it look like it literally shows a divide between the top and bottom 6 if you look at it. Like, how little red is in the top 6 and how little green is in the bottom 6.
Yeah.
Talk about the league, right, and its inconsistencies this season. Jeez. Although you could call it consistencies because, But on to the Saturday games, look, because, not much happened in that Adelaide-Wellington game. People don't know what else you want me to say. Newcastle won their 9th game in their last 10 matches, the only other one of those being a draw last weekend. So, look, if any team's actually showing proper consistency, it's 100% them. Beating the Wanderers, so get in Newcastle. And best of all, Mark Natter scoring the winner later on as well, former Wanderer, of course. Look, it all looked to be going all well for Wanderers when Cryer put them in front in the first half, but Newcastle once again proving they're strong, and especially at home, getting themselves those 2 important goals in the second half to take that game and keep themselves clear at the top. Wanderers sent back down to the bottom of the table. I mean, look, Newcastle are looking hands-on to win this league now, aren't they?
I think they are, and look, I'm all for it. We talked a few weeks ago about the big crowds at McDonald Jones Stadium at home, and Shannon Noel was playing pre-game, and it's a really good atmosphere there. I've been there once.
Look, what I will say is next weekend we have a proper big game in the A-League this season, because we have a game which may decide the title, because Newcastle are playing Auckland at home.
Ah, right.
And not only that, let's not forget Newcastle have beaten Auckland away in Auckland twice this season.
That's
as
right,
well.
yeah.
So if they can win a 3rd game against Auckland this season, that practically, for me, all but confirms the title.
Oh, yeah, I think so. And look, I think they deserve it. They've in a season where, like you just said, there's been teams that have sort of put their hand up, halfway up, and sort of teased us a little bit with, they might be a contender for the plate. Newcastle have just bulldozed them all really, and especially from that cup winning start. And then
but the thing is, it didn't start that well. They started pretty poorly. They were bottom of the table. I can't remember what week it was, but it was after week 5 or 6 or something. They were at the foot of the table, Newcastle. And
after winning the cup, exactly.
As I said, this win against Wanderers though was their 9th win in their last 10 games in the league, which is remarkable consistency. Yeah. And the only other one was a draw, and that was last week, of course. So.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, huge for Newcastle in terms of a league which has been plagued with inconsistency from all other teams this season. Newcastle have taken that script, completely ripped it right down the middle as clean as a whistle, and said, "Nah, 2 middle fingers up to the rest of the league to say, no, we are going to be consistent and we are going to win this league at a canter," and they could well do that, especially if they win against Auckland next week, because 4 points, I could maybe see Auckland recovering. I couldn't see them recovering 7 or more points. I just couldn't.
No.
Yeah. So, look, great win for Newcastle. Keeps Wanderers bottom as well, so that's always a bonus. And on to the other game on Saturday, which was the Big Blue, the 3rd edition this season. I will say we put up a much better performance than we did in the Australia Day one, that's for certain. But I was very pissed off, as you remember me messaging you, at the point where they went 2-0 up, because I thought our performance up until we made the subs in this game was so pathetic and cowardly. Melbourne Victory were awful anywhere on that pitch in that game apart from their attacking third. The attacking third, they were excellent. Any other position on that pitch was awful. Defensively, they gave us so much space. We had the width of the park half the time. It was so easy for us to break through them. And every time we put balls into the box or in around the box, we were being too passive, not enough conviction, not enough penetration, not enough bravery. Right? Yeah, they went in front. I called the Juan Mata free kick when he was standing over it. Like he was standing over the wall. I could see the gap where definition his was and the gap on the near post. And I said, he's going right there. I've seen enough times in his time at United where he's put how he takes free kicks. He's going right there, goes in off the near post, called it. And it was against the run of play, and they started to run with that, and they created a lot of chances. I said in the attacking third, they were brilliant. Look, I don't care. I've said this before. I don't care. He played for Wanderers last season, plays for Victory this season. I don't care. Juan Mata is showing this season why he is probably the second best player to ever sign for the A-League behind Del Piero, and I don't think there's much argument you can put between what I said there.
Yeah.
I know you would love to. I mean, David Villa, but I mean, he only played 3 games. So, I mean, look, if we're just talking of signing, maybe it would be Del Piero, Villa, then Mata, I guess. But
yeah, look, as much as I
want to put Orlando Engel on.
yeah.
Tim Cahill, maybe. No, I'd say Mata's better than Cahill.
Yeah. Marcin Bajinski, Robert Corrin.
Emerton.
Yep. Vinny Grella.
Harry Chewell.
Solomon Colosimo.
Bozza.
But I mean, I think as much as I don't really want to give Mata
Michael
too much
Mifsud.
praise, the Maltese Messi, as much as I don't want to give Mata too much praise, he's had a really good season, and he's been good for the competition. I don't really pay much attention to the team he plays for.
Who'd have thought when you give him a better manager than Alan Stajic and you play him in position, he actually plays like he actually looks like a very, very good player. Who'd have thought that? Eh? It's not rocket science. But look,
exactly.
And then they went 2-0 up before we made subs, and I was absolutely pissed off at that because I thought we deserved so much more from that game as well. We're going to lose because we're being cowards. But then if he finally brings on Al Hassan Toure and everything changes, we scored 2 goals in a couple of minutes, and then all of a sudden we're the favourites and we should have won that game. But anyway, late on, Victory had nothing beyond that point. Great for Stamatolopoulos and Ama Arslan both getting their first goals for the club as well. Great little header from Stamatolopoulos, which shows we finally got a target man this season. And hopefully we can utilise that in the closing stages of the season. And Ama Arslan, I mean, look, getting there on the back post after a brilliant little run off the shoulder from Al Hassan Toure, as I said, we needed a bit of spark, and he provided it, Toure, because that pace, I mean, it's electrifying, isn't it, when he really gets going, how quick he is. And yeah, I mean, look, we rescue ourselves really in a game which I think we should have won comfortably, but look, the way the league has been this season, and I say this every week when people say, "Oh, are you worried? No." unless we start losing like multiple games on the bounce, I'm not worried about like, winning a couple, drawing, losing, winning a couple. I'm not, because of the inconsistencies. We're still comfortable in third place. We still would have been even if we lost this game. Like, we've got Newcastle coming up. We'll probably lose that. It doesn't bother me too much. I hope, so long as we can beat you guys, of course, in our next game, which I really hope we do, and we should, given your recent form in the league.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't worry me too much. Look, goal scoring has been a worry, but hopefully now that Stamatolopoulos is off the mark, Arsenal's off the mark, and he's getting better every game, by the way, I'm at Arsenal. I thought he was excellent against Victory. Hopefully this is going to help us, because I said the league has been so inconsistent other than Newcastle in that top six. If you can even every now and then win back-to-back games, you're always going to keep yourself above water and keep yourself comfortably in that conversation. So yeah, it's just about picking up enough points basically as it goes on. It doesn't matter if you lose here and there or drop points here and there, as long as it doesn't become a consistent thing, and then you should be comfortable in the top six.
And look, I mean, looking ahead to that City game that you mentioned, I'm fully expecting you guys to beat us. I mean, I've talked about our Asian pursuits, but if it goes that way and City don't end up making finals, I'm fine, because I've got another team and another code who's in a semi-final battle this week, so I'm pretty content. And I've said that before. I think they'll just be making up the numbers if they somehow do make the six. It's just.
Well, I'll tell you what, you say it wouldn't bother you, but it would be the first time you failed to make finals since changing your name to Melbourne City. So that would be a huge thing, because you have consistently made it every season since you've become Melbourne City.
Oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. Look,
very nonchalant there, but let's go through the final game, eh?
Look, Auckland once again dropping points at home in a game they probably should have won. It's just ridiculous, really, this season, isn't it? I'm not going to keep going on about the inconsistencies, but yeah, look, it is what it is. Look, great way to get started in that game. What a finish from Sam Cosgrove from the edge of the box that was. Just low, hard. Maybe you could argue Matt Sutton slightly unsighted by it, but look, it's still a cracking goal, and he has been a very good player for them this season. In terms of big target man strikers, he's been one of them, hasn't he, Sam Cosgrove?
Oh, he has. He's been consistent all season and just really quality player. But I've noticed he's scored a lot of goals in the opening sort of 10-15 minutes of games, which is what they, Auckland being the side that they want to be this season, obviously looking pretty good for a top two finish. Scoring early goals and just going to give them that ascendancy. But I think
the opposite of us. We can't score goals in the first half at all, but the second half, oh boy, maybe we can. I kid you not, we've scored 8 goals, I believe, 7 or 8 goals in the first half of matches this season. We scored 19 in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of says it all, doesn't it?
But I think dropping a point to a team like Perth, who have been up and down a little bit this season, I think for
well, that's the thing. It's just another one of those performances for Auckland where they took the lead, and where last season they would have just dominantly held onto it and finished off the game later on. It just felt like that again. They took lead, but Perth always were having chances, and eventually Caltech gets them back into it just before half time, and then then Kolakowski puts them in front. Obviously, brilliant finish as well from Kolakowski for that second as well. And had it not been for the own goal from Matt Sutton shortly after that, and even then Auckland, just couldn't really get the job done, because they've been like this season. They've looked amazing some weeks. They've looked very just passive and average on others, and this was another one of those.
Yeah.
So look, they didn't lose, but I mean, look, they could have kept. Excuse me, people. I don't know why I keep yawning saying. Keep trying to keep the pressure on Newcastle, and it's just not happening for them right now. Look, as for Perth, they're slipping. They're starting to consolidate themselves to missing finals again now. The way it's looking.
Yeah. I think so.
They burnt bright a bit too early, I guess, and they just didn't have the resources to really keep themselves up there ultimately.
No.
Yeah, look, great. I mean, look, Adam Griffiths has still been doing a fantastic job this season, and I think they should keep him for next season. With a bit more investment, maybe they can see an improvement overall next season. But they've shown this season they have what it takes to win games. consistently. Just they weren't able to keep it going. And look, as for Auckland, the inconsistencies have been hurting them, as they have many teams in and around the top 6 this season.
Yeah. One thing I'm just going to call out with the league itself is, and we talked about, you mentioned the highlights and whatnot before. I was actually just trying to have a look at the own goal from Matt Sutton, and it's literally given me some regulation Auckland goal in the highlight instead. Like, what the fuck's going on with your...
I don't know.
With your website A-Leagues, your fixturing's terrible, and, you can't even put the right highlights in the right spot, it's just sums up the league. Anyway, that's my rant for the week, since City didn't play, so...
Yeah.
There you go, yeah.
Good thing for you, Perth didn't win, though, because they would have overtaken you had they won. So, yeah. Good thing for you they didn't. But, yeah, look, that wraps up another week of fixtures for us. Obviously a bit truncated with the A-League once again providing absolute shittery with its fixturing. As it will next week, of course, as well, because we got the standard Friday game. Although we got one extra game, it's only really that Tuesday game that we won't probably cover. We're not going to make you wait till Wednesday, of course, to do a review. So, yeah, it will be the Sydney City game on the Tuesday, the week after, literally a week from now, which we won't be able to talk about in that review. But yeah, hopefully we win, as in Sydney. But I hope you guys enjoyed another week, of course. Obviously, those of you who checked the channel, Ben, uploaded that short, of course. I don't believe you ended up doing one post-match, did you?
No, I didn't. I actually was going to sort of do one just here at the desk when I got back, but I just thought, I can't be...
look,
it was just,
We got a bit of time. We got a bit of time now. It's not like we're on a timeline, but it's only 51 minutes in. How did you find the game went for you, now that you might have a chance just to talk about it?
All in all, really good. And from a crowd point of view, I might have mentioned it to you in passing, but the aim was to actually break the Saints' home and away all-time crowd record, which previously was 81,000. They got 83.5.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's massive. And I think I said to you in the chat before the game, the concourse was much bigger than the end of day 2 for the Ashes test, when all the Poms were streaming out of the G. And
it must have been packed there.
It was. It was. So just great. The game itself was actually pretty good. The Saints had chances to win it. They led by a couple of points at halftime, and unfortunately just a little bit of lack of polish and experience that Collingwood had. And I hate to admit that, because I obviously hate Collingwood with a passion. Sorry, Pies fans, but I've dealt with you enough over the last couple of days to last a lifetime, unfortunately. Bit of humbleness in victory wouldn't go astray either. There, I said it. But yeah, look, the thing to remember with this opening round is that Brisbane lost, Geelong lost by about 50 points or so, Hawthorn lost, so you can't sort of put all your eggs in one game. And we've got Melbourne back at the MCG on Sunday, and I'll put some content out for that as well. But look, overall it was a really good night. Great crowd, great atmosphere.
Oh, the atmosphere must have been like...
It was fantastic. The run out was...
I will quickly ask, have you been to any... Have you been, because obviously you've been to many, grand finals as well. Have you been... Is that one of the biggest crowds you've been to?
Yes.
For an AFL game?
It is, yeah.
Because I don't think Marvel can get 80,000 in there, right, for any of the finals.
I was just about to say, I think we still hold the Marvel record home and away, which was, I think, 56,000. So,
that's
you're
right.
It wouldn't have,
so the two grand finals you went to in 9 and 10, they didn't reach 80,000 at the G.
No, that was 100,000.
Oh, that was 100. Okay, that was big. Okay,
I think, yeah. I think for health and safety, it's just under 100,000. Yeah. But back in the day, if you look at old sort of footage, they used to get over 100,000 because they didn't care where people sat or stood.
Because those are those are the only two grand finals you've been to for Saints, aren't they? The 9 and 10 one.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you went to the
replay, but we're not going to talk about that.
And the replay, but that's there's no way the replay was 100,000 as well, right?
Yeah.
It was. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But in terms of the game, look, the atmosphere was brilliant. They hyped it up in terms of the crowd for a couple of weeks. Saints actually broke their all-time membership record the week before, which is just bit over 65,000, and they're hoping to get more of that. So we'll hopefully with better results.
You're making an advertisement here for people watching who are Saints fans. Get your memberships.
Jump on board. I did. So
a long time ago.
Hopefully, we're talking on this pod in a few weeks' time, and they've got a couple of wins under the belt, because it's a really important stage of proceeding. They've got a young side. They play an exciting brand of footy. I don't care what anybody says. They obviously don't watch them enough. I am ranting a bit because it's what you see on social media that's complete bullshit. It's but it's one. The thing to remember is, and you might have seen this, Chester, with United and whatnot. It's one game, right? The sky's not falling in. Yeah. It's one game out of 23. And some of the stuff I've seen on socials after the game, people were losing their fucking minds. It's like, it's one game. People are carrying on like Collingwood won by 120, not 12, and that we got absolutely rolled, right? A few missed opportunities. Bad conversion is bad footy. That's the one thing I will say. You've got to. It's like in football, any sort of sport. Bad conversion is bad play, right? But look, I think, from a crowd point of view, it was terrific. Couldn't have asked for much more. It's money in the pockets of the club, which is good. Membership will hopefully continue to rise, which is.
How were the Saints fans? I mean, because I'm assuming you were in the active zone. I'm assuming you were right there in the middle of the active zone.
No, I was in like a Saints member zone. So, but the funny thing was, one of our sponsors, like a safety company, safety wear, workwear, and the whole cheer squad was wearing like hard hats, which I thought was quite funny. But the ball does come into the crowd sometimes, so I guess it's probably good to have that head protection, I suppose. So, but like I said, I'll be back at the G on Sunday. In the actual, you're probably behind the goal.
I'm surprised you don't have a bit of a sore throat, considering you were probably chanting a fair bit throughout the game.
I know, I did actually for a little while. I was up and about, and sort of just took a little while to get the voice back. But look, really good night overall. The one gripe I do have, and I should have mentioned this to you at the time. I went looking around because normally at the G, and hopefully it's back on Sunday, there's like a coffee and like cinnamon donut van, and I walked around, it wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, where can I get some donuts? And I walked around, and there's like great cinnamon donuts. I thought, they're going to be like the normal sort of round ones. No, it's the normal, big jam donut ones that you get with some cinnamon sugar. Yeah. 3 of them. Have a guess how much they were.
Probably like 15 to 20 or something.
Nah, close to 11.50. Like 11.10. Yeah, ridiculous.
But hang on, for free, like $11 for 3 donuts isn't terrible. Like, were they big?
They were, but they weren't. They weren't all that good.
Like that's not that ridiculous, in all honesty. Like $11 for 3 donuts. We're talking about Australia here, not England or the USA. Like that's a pretty bog standard price in Australia these days. Like I don't think any Australians looking at that going, "Oh, that's an outrageous rip-off." That's mainly because I think most Aussies have just kind of resigned themselves to the fact, or most people that live in Australia have resigned themselves to the fact that everything costs money these days. So just deal with it.
I just think for something that's meant to be really nice and sweet, it left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, fair enough.
Boom, boom. But, look, great night for the club. I mean, the result obviously wasn't guaranteed. Before
we wrap up, look, this ain't an AFL podcast. I have nothing really to contribute in it, but you at least do. For any other Saints fans watching, any shout-outs to any actual performances from players on the night that you thought looked promising?
Cooper Sharman, I thought was good. Flying Liam Ryan, who kicked a really nice goal from the Maynard pocket. AFL fans from 2018, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And funnily enough, he was actually on the mark, and that made it even more hilarious. So just to give you a bit of context, Chester. Yeah. So West Coast won a grand final against Collingwood in 2018 from like a really nice sort of set shot goal from the pocket, and this guy who played for the Eagles in that team, and ironically was in the lead up to that particular chain in 2018 that led to that goal. Yeah. Kicked a goal from almost the identical spot, and the guy who had the goal kicked on him was on the mark on Sunday night. So just a bit of flashback sort of PTSD stuff. But look, at the end of the day, some really good team efforts. They had 4 new players, so Tom De Koning in the ruck, Sam Flanders, Jack Silvani, and Liam Ryan, 4 new blokes coming in. They did spend some money in the off season, as I think I mentioned to you, so they did really well. But I think Melbourne next week, they've got GWS at Homebush the week after, and then Brisbane. It's their first Marvel game in a couple of weeks, and then a bye.
That's your first one. That Brisbane game's your first day back at Marvel as well.
It is, yeah. So really looking forward to that. Got my seat already sorted. So because
I know you love the G, but I mean Marvel's your favourite, really, isn't it? For
it certainly is, and look,
mainly because you've got better memories of Marvel than you do the G when it comes to Saints.
Most certainly do, but look, I think it's going to be important for us because we play that ground really well. Look, we only get a couple of games at the G every year, and ironically, 2 of the 3 this year are actually in the first 2 weeks of the season. So we don't, but that's where you play finals, and that's where you want to play at the end of the season, right? So, but having said that, hopefully in a few weeks' time, we're having a little bit of a chat about where things. I know we've got a live stream coming up, about
April, end of April,
6 weeks' time.
Gather round, right? No, sorry, not gather round. Week after, you said, right?
Because hopefully in about 6 weeks' time, I've got a good gauge on where they're actually sitting.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's more. The goal difference, shall we say, is more positive than in the negative.
Yeah. Or we could be going into that game against the Crows and you could be winless and bottom of the table.
I really hope not, because that's not going to be a good live stream for any of us, including us.
Hey, we're still going to do it.
Oh, we will, for sure. Yeah. But, it's only, like I said, it's only one game, no need to hit the paint. But Carlton, to give you context, Carlton, I think I told you they had 12 goals put on them in the third quarter. They lost by 60 points, 60-odd points. So,
bet you love that.
Could be, like I said, it could be worse. We could be Carlton, but we're not.
Yeah, I'm saying, I bet you love that because you hate Carlton.
Oh, it was brilliant. I've got a couple of Carlton mates, shout out to my Phoenix crew, but one game out of 23, let's not go nuts.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, that's a perfect time to finish this video. I think. Look, I think we explained before, but obviously, Ben, you're going camping today or tomorrow, correct?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. So we won't have a tea break episode for you, of course, this week because Ben's basically going to be gone until late Friday, early Saturday, I believe. So, unfortunately, no tea break. We were going to try and get a double recording done, but we just never really had the time to do it, unfortunately. So it is what it is. I don't know how the reception's going to be out. Where are you going?
So heading up to Wodonga and then Yarrawonga, which is right on the border of New South Wales.
So any watchers of this who live in that area, go find Ben and say hi.
And then a Chuka sort of coming back round. So
angry Collingwood fan up in Wodonga. What the fuck did you say about my fucking team?
Well, I've put up with enough of it over the last 72 hours or whatever it is to 36 hours to last a lifetime. So I could not care less, to be perfectly honest.
Well, look, as I was actually trying to say, I don't know what your reception's going to be like if you can chuck any shorts up when you're out there.
Yeah. I think it should be pretty good. It's sort of regional Victoria.
I obviously did a couple of regional ones over Christmas Day, so if you can chuck a short or two up, just let us know what it's like up in the camping zones in Wodonga and up in country Victoria border New South Wales. I mean, you might even get to the New South Wales border. Who knows?
I dare say I'll probably be going across and sort of zigzagging around. I think.
Yeah.
So, lovely part of the world. I really like it up there. So, I think the reception will be pretty good. So, for the most part, so I'll definitely try and get some good scenery. Yeah,
long old drive though to get there.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's going to be really warm tomorrow. So thank God for aircon. I think so. Yeah. Looking forward to it though. Yeah,
sounds good. But yeah, we'll be back next week, of course. Then with the review as usual, we'll be back on the Monday schedule, people. Of course, next week. Long weekend and all that's been messed up schedule, but we will be back on the Monday one as always next week and back properly with the tea break as well. So yeah, look forward to that. And obviously plenty more content as well. He's got, obviously, as you said, Melbourne this week at the G as well on Sunday, I believe, as well. So yeah, look, plenty of content coming up, people. My partner and I are heading up to a lily farm out in Yarra Junction on Sunday. So hell, I might even drop a short or two when we're up there potentially.
Absolutely,
yeah. So yeah, look, stay tuned for more content, people. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll leave it there. And peace out, guys. Take care, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Take care, guys.